All right. So, everyone's talking about AI these days, but this right here, this is a whole stack of articles about AI in education.
Hmm.
And, everything from personalized lessons to robot teachers. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's like we're stepping into a sci-fi movie,
Right.
but like in a good way.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So,
Yeah.
let's sort of unpack this stuff together and figure out what's hype and what's actually happening in classrooms right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sound good.
sounds great.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So, one of the things that jumps out when I'm looking at this material is this idea of AI tutors.
Right.
They can like adjust lessons to a student's pace.
Yeah.
Um,
It's amazing.
that seems like a game changer, but then it
Yeah.
gets even more sci-fi when you start talking about AI grading essays.
Right. Using this thing called natural language processing.
Right.
I mean, how can a machine possibly understand good writing?
Well, I think it's less about a human understanding and more about just a highly sophisticated pattern recognition system.
Okay.
These AI programs, they're trained on massive amounts of text data. And so they learn to identify patterns related to things like grammar and sentence structure,
Yeah.
even argument flow and emotional tone.
So it's not about like replicating a teacher's intuition necessarily, but more about identifying like the building blocks of good writing based on data.
Exactly.
Okay.
And really where the magic happens is when you think about the time that this frees up for teachers, because instead of spending hours on grading, they can focus on individual student needs, develop creative lesson plans, or even just have more meaningful conversations with their students.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, right.
Like we're giving teachers superpowers here, not replacing them altogether.
Exactly. That's a really good way to put it. And it ties into that broader concept of adaptive learning.
Okay, so adaptive learning.
Right.
That was another one of these like buzzwords that jumped out at me from these articles.
Yeah.
What does that actually look like in practice?
So imagine a student's grappling with algebra.
Okay.
And instead of hitting a wall and getting discouraged, an AI tutor steps in not to provide the answer, but to identify the specific areas where they're struggling.
So it's like having a personal tutor who can pinpoint exactly where you're going wrong and offer targeted help.
Exactly.
Interesting.
It might offer additional practice problems, present the concept in a different way, or even connect them with other students who've mastered that particular skill.
So it's constantly adapting to meet students' needs in real time.
Okay, so that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
No more feeling lost in a sea of faces in a crowded classroom.
Right.
But this deep dive isn't just about cool tech in the classroom,
Right.
right? This article you sent talks about AI reshaping the whole education system,
Yes.
from budgets to identifying students at risk of dropping out.
That's right.
I mean, that's a whole other level.
It is a whole other level because AI's potential goes way beyond individual classrooms.
Okay.
Think about this resource allocation.
Okay.
So imagine a system that can analyze mountains of data
Okay.
to figure out the most efficient way to allocate funding and resources across a whole school district.
So it's like AI doing the work of a whole team of budget analysts,
Ex-
but potentially faster and more effectively.
Potentially much faster and much more effectively. And especially in districts with limited resources. I mean, this could be a game changer.
Yeah.
And then there's the potential for identifying students at risk of dropping out, which is such a complex issue.
Yeah. How does that even work? I mean, the article mentions AI analyzing data to identify students who might be struggling. Is it like a predictive system or something?
It is. In a way, it can analyze attendance records, grades, and even things like library book checkouts to identify patterns that might indicate a student is struggling.
So it's not just about looking at grades, but also considering a wider range of factors that might be affecting a student's performance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
These subtle signals can help educators intervene early and provide targeted support before a student falls through the cracks.
It's like having an extra set of eyes
Yes.
looking out for students who might need help but might not feel comfortable asking for it.
Exactly.
This is already blowing my mind, and we've only just scratched the surface.
And we haven't even gotten to the really futuristic stuff yet.
Right. Okay, but before we dive into the time-traveling virtual reality classrooms of the future,
Okay.
there's one more thing from these articles I want to unpack.
Okay.
It's this idea that even with all this amazing technology,
Right.
human skills are more important than ever. It seems almost counterintuitive.
It is. It's interesting, right? Because you think as we develop technology that can automate a lot of this stuff,
Right.
it would make those things less important.
Yeah.
But it actually underscores the value of the things that AI can't replicate.
Okay, so help me out here. What are those uniquely human skills that the article highlights?
So we're talking about things like creativity, critical thinking,
Yep.
emotional intelligence,
Okay.
collaboration, complex problem solving.
So things that require like human intuition,
Yes.
empathy,
What was that?
the ability to navigate nuanced situations.
Which AI is not very good at.
Right.
And these are becoming increasingly valuable in our rapidly changing world.
So it's not about AI replacing teachers, but about changing the nature of what we teach.
Exactly.
And how we teach it.
Yes, because AI can be an incredibly powerful tool for delivering information, personalizing learning,
Right.
even assessing understanding. But it's the human educators
Right.
who provide the context, the inspiration, the guidance
Yeah.
to help students develop those uniquely human skills that'll be essential for their success in the future.
It's not an either-or situation.
No.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
It is. It's a partnership
Interesting.
between humans and AI in education.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking about AI empowering teachers to focus on like nurturing these uniquely human skills in their students.
Right.
Almost like AI takes care of the logistics and frees up humans to do what they do best, like connect, inspire, guide.
It's exciting. And this article goes on to explore how that partnership between human and artificial intelligence could revolutionize not just K-12 education,
Right.
but lifelong learning as well.
Yeah, it talks about this idea of AI being like your personalized guide for lifelong learning, almost
Yeah.
like a career counselor who's always up to date on the latest trends and technologies.
Think about that.
Right.
In a world where the things we need to know to thrive
Yeah.
are changing faster than ever, AI could analyze those trends, identify emerging fields, and recommend personalized learning pathways to help us stay ahead of the curve.
So it's like having a personalized roadmap for your career
Exactly.
that's constantly updating based on like your skills, your interests,
Yes.
and the demands of the job market.
It's amazing.
That's incredible. Okay, but before we get too carried away with all these like futuristic possibilities,
Okay.
the article also raises some important questions about potential downsides of AI in education.
Right, because while the potential benefits are really significant,
Yeah.
we need to be mindful of potential challenges
Mm-hmm.
and approach these technologies with a critical eye.
One of the big ones that comes to mind for me is this whole issue of access and equity.
Yeah.
I mean, not everyone has equal access to technology or high-speed internet.
That's right.
So how do we make sure that AI-powered education doesn't end up exacerbating those inequalities?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
You know, it's not enough to just develop these technologies.
Right.
We need to make sure that they're accessible to all students, regardless of their background or their socioeconomic status.
Mm-hmm.
And that means addressing the digital divide,
Yeah.
providing adequate resources to schools and underserved communities, and designing AI systems that are inclusive and equitable from the ground up.
So it's not just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's about how it's implemented
It is.
and who has access to it.
Exactly. And that brings us to another critical aspect that this article highlights,
Okay.
data privacy.
Okay.
So if these AI systems are collecting tons of information on students,
Right.
how do we guarantee that that data is used responsibly and ethically?
Well, because that data can be incredibly personal.
It is incredibly personal.
Okay.
Everything from a student's learning style
Mm-hmm.
and their academic performance
All right.
to their interests, even their emotional well-being.
Yeah.
It's all in there. So protecting student privacy is paramount.
Okay.
We need strong data security measures, clear guidelines on data usage and transparent systems that actually give students and parents control over their own information.
So it's like walking a tightrope in a way.
Yeah.
On the one hand, we want to unlock the potential of AI to personalize learning and support students in all these new and innovative ways. But we also need to be incredibly cautious about safeguarding student data and privacy.
Absolutely. It's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
And it requires ongoing dialogue and collaboration between educators, policymakers, technologists,
Mhm.
families.
It's a team effort for sure.
It is.
Okay,
Yeah.
but speaking of exciting advancements,
Okay.
the article also dives into some of the experimental AI tools that are being developed right now.
Yes.
And this is where it feels like we're like really stepping into the future.
Yeah, these experimental projects offer a glimpse into what might be possible.
Yeah, like there's this one, and I
Yeah.
have to say the name is a bit out there.
Okay.
It's called Professor Giggles.
Professor Giggles.
Professor Giggles.
Okay. What does Professor Giggles do?
So apparently it's this experimental AI tutor that's designed to make learning more engaging.
And well fun.
Interesting, because humor can be a really effective teaching tool.
Right.
It can help students relax, create a more positive learning environment, and even improve information retention.
Yeah, the article gives this example of how Professor Giggles might teach like math concepts through storytelling and humor
You okay?
so that even the most complex equations feel a little bit more approachable.
You're sneaking a little bit of playfulness
Yes.
into the learning process.
Exactly. And speaking of play, the article also mentions another tool called PlayLearn AI.
Play, learn AI. Are you sensing a theme here with these names?
Maybe just a little.
Okay, so Play, learn AI. What is that all about?
Okay, so imagine this. You're learning about history,
Okay.
but instead of just reading about it in a textbook, you're playing an interactive game
Okay.
powered by AI.
Interesting. Gamification education is not a new concept, but using AI to personalize those experiences. I mean, that's next level.
And that's exactly what PlayLearn AI aims to do.
Yeah.
The article describes it as like this tool that can turn any educational topic into a game that's tailored to your learning style.
So a student who thrives on competition might get a fast-paced strategy game,
Right.
while a student who prefers a more collaborative approach might get like a cooperative puzzle game.
Exactly. It's about leveraging the power of AI to make learning more engaging and more effective for every student.
Yeah.
And these are just two examples from this article. There are dozens of other experimental projects underway exploring everything from virtual labs to AI-powered assessment tools.
It is a really exciting time for the future of education.
Hmm.
And while there are still definitely challenges to address
Hmm.
and ethical considerations to navigate.
Right.
It's clear that AI has the potential to transform how we learn and teach for generations to come. It's really remarkable stuff.
Yeah.
It really feels like we're on the cusp of a major transformation in education.
Yeah, and it's exciting, but it's also a little bit daunting, right?
Of course.
Because we're talking about shaping the future of learning.
Yeah.
And the choices we make today
Right.
are going to have a huge impact on generations to come.
It's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
But I think if we approach these technologies thoughtfully and ethically,
Right.
and with a focus on equity and access,
Yeah.
then AI has the potential to create a more just and equitable education system for everyone.
It's about making sure that everyone has the opportunity to reach their full potential,
Exactly.
regardless of their background or their circumstances. That's what's so exciting about this.
Yeah.
It's not just about making things more efficient or more personalized. It's about using technology to create a more equitable and just world.
Well said. All right, so as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of AI and education,
Yeah.
is there one big takeaway that you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the future of learning is not predetermined.
Okay.
It's something that we are all actively shaping right now.
Just a team effort.
It is. And it requires us to ask tough questions,
Yeah.
to consider the ethical implications of these technologies,
Mm-hmm.
and to make sure that we're using them in a way that benefits all learners.
Well said. So to all our listeners out there,
Yeah.
stay curious.
Curious.
Stay engaged.
Just engage.
And never stop exploring the ever-evolving world of knowledge.
Well said. I think that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.